Hey there, are you ready to build a fitness business that becomes a true income producing asset? Then I welcome you to the Fitness Business Freedom Show, brought to you by Fitness Revolution. I am your host, Justin Hanover, and we have over 15 years of experience building thriving fitness businesses, and we are committed to sharing our knowledge and expertise with you. You can expect to hear proven business foundations and frameworks, success stories from our coaching partners, and guest experts to give you straight answers for your biggest questions. It doesn't matter if you have an online business, fitness facility, or operate as an independent trainer. You are in the right place to grow your business and create the personal freedom you desire. Welcome to today's episode. I'm your host, Justin Hanover, success coach with Fitness Revolution. Now, before we dive into today's episode, I want to share a little bit about who I have joining me and what you can expect to hear. So today I have the pleasure of speaking with Anna Iveson. Anna is a competitive figure skater turned banker turned Facebook ads expert with a passion for helping entrepreneurs on a mission to rapidly and sustainably scale their reach, impact, and profits through social media advertising. She started her advertising career at Tier 11, a leading global Facebook ad agency, before breaking out as an independent ads expert. Nowadays, she partners with businesses across a wide range of niches, including fitness and health, SaaS, personal development, and online education. Safe to say, most gym owners would say that their biggest pain point revolves around lead generation and sales. Well, we tackled that head on with Anna, breaking down how to go about creating a lead generation campaign that actually works, along with what not to do and how to avoid common mistakes when it comes to running lead generation campaigns. And we also took it a step further, and she shared insights on how to handle leads as they come in, and even if they don't buy right away, what are some best practices to make sure you get the most out of every lead that comes through your campaign. So let's dive into this conversation and bring Anna on. So today's episode is brought to you by Fitness Revolution. So you started your fitness business and you've been in the game now for a few years. You might have even seen some good growth over those years, but now you feel stuck. You feel like the momentum you once had just isn't there and you don't know how to get it back. Should you be focusing on your marketing, your sales, or your team? What is the next bottleneck to focus on that will allow you to break the chains holding you back? That is a great question, and one of the biggest skills as an owner is to be able to understand and identify the next biggest issue to keep your business moving. And this is exactly why Fitness Revolution has created our proprietary needs assessment to allow you to quickly see where your business stacks up and receive immediate feedback on what to focus on next. It's a quick 10-question assessment that will be able to provide valuable feedback to get past sticking points and hit your next goal. Whether you are stuck, feeling frustrated with your current progress, or just want to dial in what's working, this assessment is the first step to making that happen. I invite you to head over to our show notes where a direct link to the needs assessment will be so you can easily access it there. Now, let's jump into today's show. Anna, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to join us and share your insights, especially around obviously the advertising and lead generation world, so we can help gym owners move forward on their journey.
Oh, thanks for having me on the show. I'm excited to connect with your audience.
Absolutely. It's absolutely our pleasure to be able to have this conversation with you. So I figured we start with giving our audience a little context as to who you are and kind of like that 1,000-foot overview of how you became the Anna that we're speaking with today.
Sure. So I have a kind of slightly strange journey to what I'm doing now. I started off actually as a competitive figure skater. So for many, many years, I was training twice a day, every day before school, after school, all the way up to college. And then when I went to college, I didn't really have time to focus on both. I then ended up pursuing a career in financial services. So I worked in banking. Had a few children, kind of accidentally discovered the world of digital marketing, like a lot of us do in this universe. When I first started, actually, one of my first clients was a business coach that helped fit pros. And so I partnered with her, helping them out with their messaging, helping them out with their organic and email marketing. And they were just a group of people that I really, really loved helping. because a lot of them have these really amazing personal transformation stories, which they feel like they can't tell. They just feel
Mm.
like they have to have this super polished, like really perfect exterior, when actually what their customers really want is to see the real person underneath. And so from there, I spent some time working for an ad agency called Tier 11, and that
Mm.
was when I really kind of got to grips with the whole Facebook advertising world before coming back to working independently.
Excellent. I think that's pretty interesting. I like of transitions that you've had in your life, going from
Yeah, there's been a lot.
the speed skating to obviously now getting to the marketing world. I'm curious, did you find any like overlapping there? Was there anything that has transitioned well into like allowing you to excel in the marketing aspects now?
I think one thing that I noticed about people that really enjoy the kind of direct marketing world is that they have to be very driven and very competitive and very
Mm.
results orientated. So because I grew up when I started skating when I was 4, and so that kind of competitive spirit is just, it's been drilled into me from a really young age. And just with marketing in general, the one thing I notice that people really struggle with is consistency, and it's kind of the most unsexy part of marketing, is just being consistent and showing up day in day out. And that's something that I personally don't struggle with, because again, it's just been drilled into me since I was a child. Even on days when I don't feel like it, you just show
Mm.
up because you
Yes.
have to.
Yeah.
And so I think
Absolutely.
that's really helped in the marketing side of things.
Definitely. I mean, that's I would say that's uh, a thriving mindset to have, regardless. I mean, I think you definitely need that because there's plenty of days obviously you don't want to show up and do things, and obviously specifically in the marketing world, not everything goes according to plan. It'd be
Nope.
great if it did.
Mostly it doesn't.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, I mean, I think that's part of the problem. Like, people don't realize that it's like, it's not everything is a home run. And even the best marketers out there are still getting it wrong more than they get it right. But their wins get bigger, obviously, because they learn from each failure. And I think that's the difference. But the big thing is, like you said, is having that perseverance to keep going. Like, and it's just, you can't stop.
Yeah, and I can definitely say that from my skating career, I had a lot of failures, and I used to fall over. Part of the training is falling over and just picking yourself up again.
I don't know how
And
you guys do that.
oh yeah, I got some serious bumps and bruises and cuts and scrapes, but it's kind of got to the point now where, because I honestly used to get so nervous before competitions, that almost now anything I do, it's not as bad as that. So I'm more or less game for anything. Having sort of persevered through all of that and experienced major setbacks and like kind of crushing defeats, nothing feels as bad as that anymore.
Yeah. No, I would agree. I mean, that definitely, it's all perspective,
Yes.
and what we go through. I love that. So obviously, like within our conversation here, we're gonna push deeper into your expertise around lead generation and creating like proper lead generation campaigns and things to avoid, and how to actually go about doing this the right way. So obviously, I mean, to kick things off, I mean, I would say like I would say like 90%, if not more, gym owners would say their biggest struggle revolves around lead generation. But the issue is a lot of them don't really know how to begin to address this issue, or go about creating a plan that's actually going to work. So take us into like, what is like the first step when creating a proper lead generation campaign?
I think the first thing to think of is, although when you're looking in, if you're running Facebook ads, for example, or even if you're running organic marketing, is to try not to think about your follower numbers or your reach, etc. on Facebook as just a bunch of numbers. These are actual human beings. And so I think sometimes that gets lost in lead gen campaigns, where we're just looking at the numbers and we forget that we're dealing with human beings, and there has to be a relationship. So you can't just run an ad, hit the go button, and then suddenly expect customers just to come flocking because you showed up in front of them with an ad. And I think that's often, there's a kind of misconception that that's how advertising works, when actually it's part of a journey. And it's almost like you run a Facebook ad, it's kind of like proposing marriage on the first date if you think that somebody's just going to sign up for a year's membership to your gym after seeing one ad.
Yeah.
Not going to happen, especially with something like subscriptions, which it's a much bigger commitment for people. And with something like Facebook advertising, the kind of general rule of thumb is the bigger the commitment that you're asking somebody to make, whether that's price or sort of length of time that you're expecting someone to commit, the longer the funnel needs to be. So the longer the nurturing time has to be to move people over the line. I think that sometimes is forgotten, and then people get frustrated and feel like they're broken or there's something that they've done wrong, when it's really just a misunderstanding about how that relationship building process has to work.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's a really good point. It's a really like highlight there that, like I said, like, this is a journey, this is a relationship, and more importantly, obviously, you have to take into consideration the end result or what you're asking them to do. And if you're asking them to do something that's, like you said, like subscription or reoccurring, that is a much bigger ask than to have them purchase a one-off product or something like that, because like they have to build, there's more trust that's needed to be there in order for them to move forward. So could you walk us through like what would be like your process with helping like a new client create their first like lead generation campaign?
Well, the first starting point for me is understanding, first of all, what their budget is. So how much money do they have available to spend if they want to run an ad campaign?
Can we pause you right there for a second?
Yeah, for sure.
I think that's, yeah, I just want to hit on the budget part that you brought that up. Is like, could you break that down real quick of like, what is an appropriate budget to even get into the paid ads game, and like kind of what's the expectations they should have around it, in the sense of like, especially if they're new to ads?
For sure. So this is kind of a how long's a piece of string kind of answer. So there are various different funnel strategies that you can use for your lead gen. So one of them could be a lead magnet, where you're giving somebody a useful, valuable piece of content that's going to give them a quick result and also position you as the expert in your niche. That kind of funnel, generally you can generate a lead for around $3 to $5. And so when you hit go on your ad campaign, you want to have at least $3 per ad set per day, because otherwise Facebook's not going to be able to find you any leads. And so, if you're testing different audiences, you kind of want to have maybe 5 different ad sets to test your audiences. So you could probably start with a lead magnet at maybe $20 a day. That would be feasible. You probably wouldn't want to be any less than that. But before you start, you need to have an understanding of how much cash you can invest before you start generating revenue. And so you need to have a plan of how you're going to turn that lead into a sale, and have an understanding of how long that time frame is. And that's going to be different for every business.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that's a good thing to point out, and like that it's a commitment. And like you said, it's not just going to be like, oh, throw some money in ads for a month and like everything's going to change. It's like, especially if, like, I'm sure you agree, if you're new to ads, you have to build up enough data to obviously keep perfecting the ad to make it better.
Yeah, for sure. And it may be the case that there will be some leads that are ready to convert into paying customers right away, and that's amazing.
Yeah.
But those people are, if we're being honest, they're quite rare. And so there's probably going to be maybe a 30-day time frame between acquiring a lead and them converting into a paying customer. And so you just have to set that expectation first, knowing that this is not like a pound goes in or a dollar goes in and a dollar comes out instantly, because that's not how it works. But depending on what kind of funnel you choose, a lead magnet funnel is probably the cheapest way to start acquiring leads. You could have a video series funnel. Again, leads will probably be around the same price. A quiz funnel, similar to the fitness business owner's journey you have on your website. That kind of thing could work really well for your audience. A free challenge funnel could also work, or even a webinar. The thing with webinars is that the leads are more expensive, just because it requires much more of a time commitment from people. They have to invest their attention in whatever information you're providing them. So whatever strategy you choose, you always need to be mindful of how much you can afford to spend upfront.
That makes sense. Okay, cool. I just wanted to hit on the budget aspect of it, but we can go back to your flow of how you build out a campaign for somebody.
Yeah. So I would obviously want to know how much they can afford to spend. What's important to know is what kind of customers are they targeting? And typically, every business is going to be slightly different. And so even if they're marketing through word of mouth, if they're marketing through organic social media, they will know themselves what the typical customer journey looks like. And so when you're running Facebook ads, you almost want to replicate that and set your expectations based on that. So like typically before a lead becomes a paying customer, would they want to have a free trial with you? Would they want to have a face-to-face meeting? Would they want to have a sales call? If that's the way it plays out for you organically or through word of mouth, then you kind of want to replicate that process through your Facebook ads. Like just because you're running Facebook ads, you don't suddenly change the way that you nurture a lead. Like keep it natural, keep it the way you know how to close a sale, but just use Facebook as kind of an accelerant to that process and just a way to automate the way that leads come to you.
I like that. Like hit that point. Because I think all too often, too many people look at it differently. And I think that's where people get hung up in just digital marketing in general. Is like you said before, they take the human aspect out of it and change completely how they would, like if someone just walked into their facility, how would they handle that versus obviously being online? It's like sometimes they try to treat it completely different, and obviously there's a disconnect there, and you're not building that level of trust.
And I think part of the problem is that there are a lot of digital marketing gurus out there that are selling people on this idea that you can automate your sales flow completely.
Yeah.
And that's often true if you're selling courses or info products, that you can turn somebody from a lead to a buying customer without ever meeting them, without ever having a conversation with them on the phone. But with something like the fitness industry, people want to see the place that they're going to be spending their time. They want to meet the people that are going to be training them. Like there's a lot of trust that goes into that. And so just sending someone 2 emails and expecting them suddenly to sign up to your gym for 12 months, that's not likely to happen. And so you can't adopt the same strategies that a lot of online marketing gurus are telling you to running a bricks and mortar business like this.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So on that note, like, so what are some of the other like common mistakes or like pitfalls that you see people go down that you end up having to course correct?
So a lot of the times people, it kind of comes back to having the wrong expectations that they're going to turn a lead into a sale immediately. And then if a lead doesn't become a paying customer immediately, they just stop communicating with them, full stop. And then you've basically bought a lead, and then that's money down the drain because you're not giving yourself space to nurture that lead over time. And that's where something like email becomes really powerful, because it gives you the space to then follow up with people and keep that relationship going. Because sometimes when people don't buy, it's not because they don't want to buy from you, it's just that they weren't ready at that time. And then something in their life may happen that suddenly triggers them to say, now is the time. Now's the time that I need to do something about my fitness or my health. And do you want to leave it to chance that they're going to re-find you again? Or do you want to stay in front of them the whole time so that when it's time for them to take the leap, you're the only obvious choice because you're the person that they know through your email marketing?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, that's a huge part of it. And I think there's like this, almost like it's like this weird challenge. I see a lot of people, like gym owners, where they think that if they don't convert a new lead, it's not exciting to chase that person. Like not necessarily chase, but it's not exciting to like nurture that person anymore. They have to. It's exciting to more focus on new people coming in, and they almost kind of neglect what's there for that the thrill of the hunt, if you will, of,
Yes.
of continuing.
I think that's true of any niche.
Yeah,
definitely.
It's funny. It's interesting, and it's almost like you're making it a lot harder for yourself than it has to be, because it's especially. I mean, someone who was already opted in, like you said, just because they didn't do it right then and there doesn't doesn't mean that they're not ever going to, but they probably certainly won't if you stop engaging with them.
For sure. And I think there's this idea that it's much kind of cooler and sexier to convert someone within 3 days than it is in 90 days. Like you can't kind of beat your chest and go, yeah, look at me, I'm like a Facebook ads ninja if it's taken you 90 days to convert somebody. But it's much easier to convert somebody after you've been having a conversation, in inverted commas, with them for 3 months than it is after 3 days.
Oh, absolutely.
And you kind of want to be the no-brainer only choice for your customer, so that you're not then batting off all the competition.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think especially for this type of space is because obviously the stronger you build the relationship with somebody, the more the longer they're going to stay with you. And obviously, as we all know, I mean, the gym industry is built on retention. And if you're not keeping people, then, I mean, that's a hamster wheel you don't want to be on. So that's a huge part of it.
Yeah, and I think it can also be really helpful for something like email is really helpful for retaining customers as well. And if people have fallen off the wagon, maybe you can also use email to re-engage people that know you, they trust you, they already like you because they've been using your gym and using your services. Much easier to re-engage those people that already have a relationship with you than go back out to cold traffic and try and find a whole bunch of people that don't know you, don't trust you, don't like you, and to try and make money out of those people. And so it's a shame really that people don't pay enough attention to the people that are already on their email list or that already know them, and try and generate the maximum amount of revenue off those people, because it's far easier.
Oh, absolutely. It definitely, especially now, I mean, just with how obviously the platforms themselves have changed. I would say even like buyers have changed. They've gotten savvier to different things, and like it's not as easy to build the consumer trust anymore.
Well, what I find interesting actually is that I spend obviously a lot of time scrolling through different business owners' ads in the newsfeed because I'm interested in it. But I very rarely actually see physical gyms and sort of in-person trainers advertising on Facebook. And I don't know if it's because they're afraid that they're going to get it wrong, or because I'm very interested in the fitness space, and I do get a lot of info product sellers selling me fitness courses and things, but very rarely in person. And I think that you're kind of leaving money on the table if you don't do it.
Yeah.
And you have the benefit when you're running an in-person business that you can take that relationship that you've built on the internet and move it to in-person. Whereas online business owners don't have that. Like, it's all online, and it's way harder to convert somebody that way than it is face-to-face.
Oh, definitely. Because I mean, there's so many. Obviously, unfortunately, people have had bad experiences with online-only businesses of either not being legit or just not good at what they do. That, I mean, there definitely is a level of like positioning that comes with having an actual physical location that people go to. It obviously, I mean, instantly puts you above a online-only option, because like they can see, it's like it makes it more tangible. They know that they can actually see it, walk into it, experience it.
Yeah, and I think from a kind of accountability perspective as well, it's such a game changer, because everyone knows that staying fit is hard work.
Yes.
And it comes back to consistency. Nobody likes consistency because consistency is boring.
Yeah. Yep.
But staying consistent in person is way easier when you've got somebody actually physically there. And so you use that to your advantage. You've got a massive advantage to attract and retain customers versus online business owners.
Absolutely. So I'm wondering with the like kind of like hinting on like some of the mistakes and stuff like that with like creating lead campaigns. And you mentioned different methods of doing lead generation campaigns. How does someone know like when should they make adjustments to it, make changes? When should they try a different method? Like what would be like kind of like their kind of early red flag in the sense of not going down the path too far and realizing that they made a mistake?
I'm a big fan of taking fast, imperfect action. So if you decide to go down the lead magnet route, that's probably the kind of lowest barrier to entry way to generate leads. You can quickly, obviously some thought needs to go into, you need to think about what kind of asset you can provide that's going to give genuine value to your perfect customers. But you could put something like that together in a day or two. It doesn't have to be some like perfect, amazing piece of content or a whole video mini course or whatever. Most people, I would imagine, have some kind of organic following. So the ideal thing to do is test your lead magnet to a warm organic audience first, because those are people that already know you have some kind of relationship. If you can't get anyone to bite organically or to your email list, for example, then it's probably not a good idea. And so you can scrap it and start again, because the last thing you want to do is create a lead magnet and then spend a ton of money on something that nobody was going to want in the first place. And then you've created a problem for yourself where you're left thinking, all right, was it the lead magnet that was broken, or was it my ads that were broken? And then you have to do more testing to figure out what the actual problem is. Whereas if you test the product first to a warm audience, that kind of gets rid of that one variable, and you know that whatever you're running ads to is something that people actually want first. So that would be my first port of call, to know whether that element of your lead gen campaign is working or not. When you start actually running the ads, again, there are many different variables that could be causing a problem. It could be your audience targeting that's not working. It could be your creative that's not working. But what I would say is, when you're running any kind of Facebook ad campaign, is be clear about what success means to you. So for every business, that's going to be different. Like if you've got a larger amount of budget to spend on ads, you could afford to spend £10 to acquire a lead. And if your ads aren't performing amazingly, that's not a problem for you, because you can afford to spend that money. Whereas if you're on a tighter budget, it may be that you can only afford to spend $3 on a lead. And so that's kind of your first indicator. Are you hitting your cost per lead that you can afford? If you can't, then you need to start diagnosing the problem by looking at your click-through rates and seeing if it's the ads that aren't working, by looking at your CPM, which will tell you if you're going after an audience that's too competitive. There are various kind of secondary metrics to look at. But I would say for most people, the problem is generally a creative problem, that the copy or the imagery is just not resonating.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that too. It's because I was like, a lot of people, like what you said just before, they don't test enough to their organic or like existing audience. They just kind of go off of more feeling and emotion of like, okay, like, and that's where unfortunately, obviously, they can let ego come into it, and you may choose to write certain copy or use certain images or certain videos that may not necessarily be hitting home with the actual person that you want to be attracting. So like, I guess like maybe if you can give some insight into the type of, like, say somebody who maybe you can maybe use a client that you've had in the past, came to you and obviously knew that this was like the next step for them to in their marketing efforts, but didn't know what path was the best to go to start. How does one understand or just come to a conclusion of like, where should they start with this? Like, is there like a something that you can do to help somebody with getting clear on that? Or like, what would be some things that you would be looking for within their business already to help decide what path makes sense?
Well, one of the big benefits that you have in your industry is that most people will be dealing really closely with their clients. They'll be speaking to them face to face, they'll be speaking to them on the phone, they'll have in-person sales conversations. So you'll know your audience much more intimately than a lot of other business owners, which means that you know specifically what problems people are coming to solve. And typically with fitness businesses, people are coming to solve a problem, and they'll tell you what the problem is, like whether it's weight loss or trying to build strength. They'll tell you, and that's how you set goals around your fitness programs. So as a starting point, it's about paying attention to what your customers are saying, having some kind of methodical research process so that you can understand what people's pain points are, because understanding that will help you create the perfect lead magnet, if that's the type of client acquisition funnel you decide to go to. And it's also going to be the thing that you use to guide your Facebook ad creative as well. And so in many ways, I think you have a massive advantage that you don't need to do a ton of market research because you're talking to your customers every day anyway. So that is the first starting point, is just really paying attention to what are, if a perfect customer came to mind, what does that customer look like and what are they struggling with, and how can you create something that's going to solve their biggest, most painful problem?
Yeah, no, that's very true, because that's obviously like the hook that's going to pull somebody in to want to check out whatever it is that you're offering, or that first step type of thing. And just out of curiosity, with like the people that you've been working with, and obviously how like the platform's working now, do you see one particular avenue that is just naturally seems to be more successful for people than not?
What tends to work from a Facebook ad creative perspective is creating ads that look as non-ad-like as possible. Because if you think, people go on social media not to buy things, they go to hang out with their friends and watch cat videos and that kind of thing. And so if you can create something that looks as human as possible and as natural as possible, and that mimics the kind of content that your friends and family would produce, it's going to blend into the newsfeed much more seamlessly. People are much more likely to read your ad copy. If you run video ads, they're much more likely to watch your videos because it doesn't look like an ad. What doesn't tend to work is ads that look really like an ad and sound like an ad and say things like free trial here, sign up to your free class. And what's great for your industry is that you will have amazing transformation stories that you can share, whether it's your own transformation or the transformation of your clients. Even better if you can get your clients to record a video testimonial for you, and you can just run an ad with a kind of small teaser that says, meet Sarah. 3 months ago, she was struggling with this problem, and then find out how she overcame it and achieved her goals. Watch the video below. You've got a really natural testimonial video of somebody saying how awesome you are. That kind of thing works so well because it just looks really authentic.
Yeah, I think the key there you said, like at the end there, is it needs to come across like authentic and like that human aspect again. I think it comes back to that of how is this promoting some type of level of connection rather than transaction first.
And I think particularly in the fitness space, there are so many barriers to people getting started because they feel like they've failed 1,000 times before, they've tried all the things and nothing ever works. And so if they can see somebody telling a story that looks and sounds like them, that's dealing with the same struggles they are, it gives them hope that they can solve their problems. And that's ultimately what we're selling people. We're selling people the hope that they can make their life better.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. You have to sell them on this vision that obviously doesn't necessarily exist yet. But that's why they have to obviously bring them in, hook them in emotionally to want to then put action behind those thoughts.
Yeah, for sure. And I think too many businesses, and it's true of any niche, focus really heavily on the product rather than the transformation, when what people care about is how you're going to make their life better.
Yeah, no, that's very true. I think I remember heard somebody explain it like comparing it to like similar what you said, the destination of like with like TSA. Like nobody cares about like TSA or anything like that, or going through the logistics that you have to go through for traveling. Like they want to know the destination and where they're going. That's much more fun to think about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Than everything that takes to get there. So now, like in terms of like they have, like I said, like they have like a lead generation campaign set up that is performing. I want to like talk a little more what you brought on before a little while ago of like, okay, now they had the leads coming in. What should be set in place to make sure that they're maximizing those leads?
As I said before, the way that you go about turning those leads into paying customers really depends on how you would naturally go about converting a lead by any other method, whether they're coming through flyers or mail shots or word of mouth. what way do you feel most comfortable closing a sale? And I think that's what it comes down to. It may be that you prefer phone sales, you prefer offering people a free trial so that they can experience what it's like to work with you, and that works best for you. I think it's wrong to say there's a one size fits all approach, because for me personally, when I'm working with my own clients, I know if I can get a client on the phone, I have a pretty good close rate. And so my goal is always to get people on the phone. But for some people, phone sales just gives them the creeps and they just can't do it. And so that's obviously not an effective strategy for you to turn a lead into a sale. And maybe you just feel better offering people a free session because that's where you shine. And so think about what makes you feel comfortable selling, and just take that strategy and apply it to your ad campaigns. It doesn't need to be any more complicated than that. I think there's always a danger of overcomplicating things and forgetting that you're a human and they're a human, and it's about building that relationship.
Yeah, no, I agree, and sometimes I think that's where technology can bring you down a bad path, because there certainly isn't a lack of technology out there to overcomplicate things, and
yes,
a lot of times it's like it's just you have to really ask yourself, like, what is this really doing? How is this adding value to building some level of connection, or what is this doing to facilitate that? And if it's not, then it probably isn't the best avenue to be going down.
Yeah, and I think people get sold this dream that you can just hit the on button and then it's just going to magic this machine, and these cogs are going to start whirring, and these leads are going to come in, and they're just going to magically turn into money in your bank account. And wouldn't it be amazing if that worked? But for something like an in-person business where trust is such an important part of it, that is it. I mean, it's kind of a lie. Like, it just doesn't work that way. There has to be some kind of in-person element to closing the sale, or it just doesn't work. Yeah,
no, that's a very good point. And like I said, obviously you have to take into consideration what it is that you're offering. This isn't just a product that you can buy on Amazon. This is something that someone's going to be investing a lot of time with you. So there has to be some type of actual real connection there. I see a lot of people going down the path of, like, especially lately with like the ads and having the Facebook ads tie with like a lot of like messenger bot automations, and it's like people are like going nuts with that, of like sending people to these automations. And I've heard like so many horror stories of things not going well with that. So I'm just curious, what's your take on that type of an approach?
I mean, I personally don't use messenger bots with my clients, but again, I think if it works for you and it works for your business, and I think it can work as a stepping stone. I don't think it can replace the human element of marketing at all. I don't think in your industry there's nothing that's going to replace the human side of things. But if it can act as a stepping stone, if it can act as another way of qualifying leads so that you're not wasting your time and they're not wasting their time, try it. Why not? Like, you don't know. It might work for your business, it might not. And I think something like messenger bots, I know there's some time that you've got to invest in setting them up and making sure that the flow's right. But if you can put in the time, you can invest the money in subscribing to the software for a couple of months, see if it works. And it may be the strategy for you. I'm not somebody that's going to say like 100% this doesn't work for anybody. Because you just don't know. It depends on the person, it depends on the business, it depends on your ideal clients. And I wish there was a one size fits all approach to all of this. It would make my life easier and yours. But unfortunately, that's just not the way it works.
No, definitely not. And I mean, obviously the platforms themselves keep it interesting.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So I'm curious, before we transition to wrapping up the conversation, is there like maybe like one or two things that you can share that could like point people in the direction of either, like, I guess I would say like maybe improving what they're doing. So like what is something that they could easily maybe implement right away to whether it's perspective or if it's an actual like tactical action thing that they could be doing, like something that they could be doing to improve their ads approach?
One of the easiest things that you could do is, if you're running ads at the moment, whatever imagery or videos you're using, just swap them out for pictures of your face. Like really just casual selfie photos work really well on Facebook, and there's almost no effort involved there. You probably take selfies for organic marketing anyway, so just use those for Facebook, and you'll find that they will perform a lot better than professionally made graphics. If you've ever hired a graphic designer to do your ad graphics for you, you don't need that. I've just worked with a big app company, launching a campaign for them, and the ad creative that worked the best for them was one where I just threw a load of books on the floor with some note cards and took my iPhone and sort of panned across the books. And we tested that against loads of graphic designed videos, like really heavily designed images, and it was the video that I recorded on my phone of a load of books thrown on the floor that got all the reach and generated all the sales. So if there's one thing you can do, just don't get fancy. Be as unfancy as possible. It's way easier for you, and Facebook likes it. So that would be my kind of top tip for something that will get you a quick result.
I love that. And like in terms of like just asking about like the selfie thing, even like is it like best of the person themselves or of like clients? Like does it not matter?
It depends what copy you're going to run with it. So often what people will do is, I don't know how familiar your audience are with dynamic creative. So it's a tool on Facebook where you basically just plug in all of your images and all your copy and then leave it to Facebook to decide which pairing works the best. I don't tend to like that approach because I would always prefer to pair a specific piece of ad copy with a specific image so that they make sense together. So if you're telling your own transformation story, then obviously you want a picture of yourself because it would be weird if it was someone else. Whereas if you're telling a customer success story, then you want a picture of your customer. But what can help is if you can take a picture of yourself that makes people stop in their tracks because it's a little bit unusual. So that has a little bit of story appeal to it. And it could just be you pulling a silly face, or a picture of you, I don't know, somebody else taking a picture of you doing something slightly unusual outside that has some kind of story appeal and makes people go, oh, I wonder what's going on there. I best take a look at what's going on.
Yeah, no, that's a good point, and I like that. And I overall just enjoy your approach of like just simplicity, and like just not, like I said, like not overcomplicating things, and thinking that that's gonna change the result or improve the outcome just because you're fancier with how you do your images or video content and stuff like that. And I think that's I think that should give people a lot of hope in a sense of not feeling like this is overwhelming. You don't need expensive equipment or fancy recording studios, or like leave that to celebrities. You don't need that. Yeah, no, that's a good point. I appreciate that. But as I mentioned, as we work towards wrapping up the conversation, I really have been enjoying your perspective on things, and I think you brought a lot of great insight for people to at least either get started in this process or improve or adjust their perspective when it comes to their advertising efforts. And as I mentioned to you before we hopped on here, I like to kind of wrap up with kind of like your perspective of looking for someone who's looking for support. So like say like a gym owner came to you looking for guidance based on your background, what you've walked through, and your expertise. What do you feel is the most important thing for them to hear?
I think it's just setting your expectations around how quickly you're going to get results. So if you're on a really tight budget and you're looking at your finances and thinking, right, I've got to make this work within the next 30 days, otherwise I've got to shut my ads off and give up on them forever, you're kind of setting yourself up to fail. So once you start, kind of go into it thinking, this is probably going to take me 3 months to get this dialed in. So you need to give yourself enough budget and enough space for 3 months worth of testing before you'll know whether this is a strategy that's going to work for you. So I think just having that mindset around how long it's going to take to see results and to not give up, because honestly, even the absolute best in the business of running Facebook ads will rarely get their campaigns right first time. It takes time and patience, and just like, don't freak out if stuff starts going wrong.
That's good advice. Don't freak out.
Yeah. If there's one takeaway that you can take from this conversation, it's don't freak out.
Yeah. No, I like that. I think your expectations around what is really real, and like, honestly, if you're looking to build a real business that lasts for many years and maybe even beyond you, then going in it with the mindset of like, okay, I'm going to commit to a year or 2 years to really being consistent with this process, that shouldn't scare you in that sense, because you're going after creating something that's going to last 10, 20, 30 plus years. So looking at it from the perspective of like, okay, I'm going to commit to a year to doing this consistently, rather than let's see magic happen in a month. I think it's going to lead to you being a lot happier.
For sure. And my advice is probably the least sexy advice you've ever had. But
we like that advice. That's the best kind of advice. That's the real advice. We're not after the fluff. But I think that's an excellent way to wrap up this conversation. And I just want to say, Anna, thank you so much for your time and taking the time out of your day to really share your story, share your insights and your expertise that can really help a lot of gym owners move forward in the right way and down the right path. So we really appreciate you.
Oh, well, thank you for having me on. It's been super fun getting to know you and sharing what I know with your audience.
Likewise, it has definitely been a great conversation, and one that I think a lot of people are going to take away a lot from. And for those that really resonated with your approach and how you're talking about things, like, where's the best way for them to reach out and connect with you and possibly continue this conversation with you?
So if you're looking for some help with your Facebook ad creative, I've got an ebook that's called the Micro Niche Method, which walks you through the best way to produce your Facebook ad copy. So you can grab a copy of that for free at my website, which is wordistry.co.uk/micro-niche-method, which is probably the worst URL ever. But
I like it.
Hopefully it'll be in the show notes, so you can grab a copy there.
Absolutely. Yeah. We'll definitely have those in the show notes in case you're obviously in a place where you're not able to jump over there right now or write that down. We'll definitely have that in the show notes so you can easily connect with Anna and take advantage of that valuable offer that she's bringing to the table there. And we do hope that you do. We always encourage you to reach out and connect with people, because that's how doors open up. And that's obviously, that's just what we've been talking about. There's a human aspect, a connection aspect. I mean, that's what this is all about. So take this opportunity to connect with Anna, and obviously you don't know what can unfold from there. And last thing, obviously, I just want to thank you, the listener, for tuning in, because obviously we wouldn't have a show if you weren't listening. And we're obviously really happy that you're looking for ways and resources to improve your business. That's important that we never stop that pursuit as we're heading down this journey of growing, basically. And as we always mention too, like, now, it's not just about taking in the knowledge, it's about applying the knowledge. So if you need to re-listen to this, re-listen to it, take notes, and create what your action plan is to move forward from this conversation so you actually get benefit from it. And with that being said, I look forward to having you join us for the next episode of the Fitness Business Freedom Show. Thank you so much, and take care.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode on the Fitness Business Freedom Show. On behalf of Fitness Revolution and myself, we are thrilled you are looking for ways and resources to move your business forward, and we are honored to be that source for you. If you would like to receive more business building support from us, be sure to head over to the show notes and join our subscriber list and stay on top of all the industry insights that matter most to you. Now, before I close out today's show, if you found this episode beneficial in any way, I just ask you to leave us a simple review to help other gym owners find us and discover this show. Thank you so much, and I will see you on the next episode of the Fitness Business Freedom Show.